At the top of the news tonight, 2017 was a difficult year. So difficult that the government had to borrow monies from the central bank to cover certain expenses. This was revealed by the Minister of Finance, Colm Imbert, as he defended government's decisions for taking certain measures in the budget. He was speaking at the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce post-budget discussion at the Hyatt this morning. Sherilyn Lewis reports.
The finance minister said things were so hard for the government this year they couldn't even pay public servants on numerous occasions.
In the last year, I had to go to the banks to borrow to pay salaries on at least 4 unplanned occasions. In the last year, the overdraft at the central bank hit 99% on many occasions. On some occasions, we had to lock down the treasury, tell them don't issue any more checks, because we simply didn't have the money to pay for it. People don't understand these things, that we had to rush and issue treasury notes. We had to rush to the commercial banks and borrow $1 billion here and $1 billion there just to pay public servant salaries at the end of the month.
Minister Imbert said that's why he's appealing to citizens to adjust, because the next year will be a difficult one.
That 2018 is a make or break year for this country, not for this government. We are going to do what we think is right, and whatever occurs afterwards will occur. But this is a make or break year for the country. So if you are asked to sacrifice, if you are asked to pay more, if you are asked to adjust, my message to all of you is that we are all in this together and we must all adjust.
The minister once again reiterated that everyone has to share the burden, from the wealthy to the lower income earners.
I didn't come here to listen to sterile debate or academic discussions. One of the things about Trinidad and Tobago is that everybody knows that we have to adjust, but nobody wants to adjust. So the labor movement does not want to adjust. The business community does not want to adjust. The average citizen does not want to adjust, but we all know that we have to adjust.
Minister Imbert said despite tough economic circumstances, the country was still able to function over the past 2 years. Sherilyn Lewis, C News.
The Minister of Finance said despite the naysayers and objections regarding decisions made in the budget, government expenditure has decreased by billions. And Minister Colm Imbert projects growth in the coming months should citizens cooperate with the government. Again, here's Sherilyn Lewis.
Finance Minister Colm Imbert said we can't allow multinational companies to extract our resources and not pay their taxes and royalties. That's why he has imposed a 12.5% tax increase on energy companies.
It makes no sense to allow the energy sector companies to continue to extract our hydrocarbons, which are the people's resources, and pay no tax. And that's why, if you look across the world, look in the Russian Federation, you look in the United Kingdom, you look in the Middle East, the concept of a royalty comes into play, because that's a tax on gross.
In fact, Minister Imbert stressed that for all those who are concerned about the budget deficit, they need to be aware that the government has saved $13 billion in expenditure thus far.
$13 billion reduction. Which private company could reduce their expenditure by 20-25% and still be in business? One of the things that people have told us is perhaps we're doing too good of a job. People are not feeling it. So we reduced expenditure from 63 billion to 50 billion. The country's still running. We took $13 billion out of public expenditure, and the country is still running.
As for gas revenues, the minister said we lost billions and may only stand to earn back a portion of what was lost.
We have to get people to understand that we've lost $20 billion in revenue. 20 billion. Of which you may recover maybe 5. And that's why I made the point. We have a false economy where people demand expenditure, including everybody in this room, because it is not correct to say that the economy is not driven by the government. Everybody in this room, to a large extent, depends on government expenditure for their businesses. It is just not correct to say these things.
Additionally, the minister noted that Petrotrin is a net earner and earned up to $2 million per annum. This was government's justification for the 12.5% tax increase on royalties. Charlene Lewis, C News.
While on the Forex dilemma, the finance minister reiterates individuals or companies in need of large amounts of U.S. currency will have to be screened by the Exim Bank.
So that's why we're setting up a $100 million US window at Exim Bank. And we're using the bank to determine the characteristics of the applicants so that manufacturers who wish to access US dollars will be reviewed by the Exim Bank, because they're in the business of looking at exports, and they will determine whether the applicant is a true exporter and is really owner of foreign exchange.
Former Energy Minister Kevin Ramnarine says the Finance Minister's budget presentation on Monday seemed to be fixated on lambasting the energy sector, in particular multinational oil and gas companies who operate in Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. Ramnarine says at this point he's concerned about whether or not the minister and his advisors